I was sitting in the lobby of First Charleston Bank on a Tuesday morning, waiting to ask about a declined debit card, when the branch manager, a kind woman named Patricia Martinez, called me into her office and quietly slid a thick folder across her desk toward me, her voice gentle but firm as she said, "Mrs. Williams, I need to ask you something important. Did you know your daughter has been the primary user on this account since 2018? I stared at the folder, at the pages and pages of transactions I'd never made, withdrawals I'd never authorized, transfers to accounts I didn't recognize, and I felt my entire world tilt as Patricia continued. Your Social Security, your pension, your rental income, it's all been depositing into this account. My hands started withdrawing almost all of it every month for the past 4 years. My hands started shaking as I opened the folder and saw my daughter Melissa's name listed as joint account holder with full access, saw her signature on documents I'd never seen, saw thousands upon thousands of dollars disappearing month after month while I'd been rationing my groceries and turning off my heat in winter because I thought I was just bad with money. That was the moment I realized my own daughter hadn't been helping me survive. She'd been systematically stealing everything I had. My name is Ann Williams, and I'm 73 years old. I live in a small brick house on Magnolia Street in Charleston, South Carolina, the house where my late husband Thomas and I raised our 2 children and built our life together over 44 years of marriage. Thomas died 5 years ago from complications of diabetes. He was a postal supervisor, a steady man who'd worked for 37 years and earned a modest pension that, combined with Social Security, was supposed to keep me comfortable in my retirement. We also owned a small rental property, a duplex we'd bought 20 years ago as an investment. After Thomas died, the rental income from that property became an important part of my monthly budget. Between Social Security, Thomas's pension, and the rental income, I should have been receiving about $3,200 per month. It should have been enough, more than enough actually, for a woman living alone in a paid-off house with modest needs. But for the past 4 years, I'd been struggling, constantly running out of money before the end of each month, rationing food, putting off medical appointments because I couldn't afford co-pays, letting repairs pile up because I couldn't pay for them. I'd thought it was my fault, that I was spending too much, managing my money poorly, losing track of things because of my age. I'd felt ashamed of my inability to make ends meet on what should have been adequate income. Now, sitting in Patricia's office looking at that folder, I understood the truth. It wasn't my fault. I hadn't been bad with money. Someone had been stealing from me. My daughter, Melissa. If you've ever discovered that someone you love and trust completely has been systematically robbing you for years, you know the particular horror I felt in that moment. It's not just the money. It's the betrayal, the calculated deception, the cold exploitation of your trust. "How much?" I asked Patricia, my voice barely above a whisper. "How much has she taken?" Patricia looked at me with sympathy. "I can't give you an exact figure without doing a full audit, but based on what I can see here, it appears to be over $100,000 over the past 4 years. $100,000! 4 years of my entire income stolen. How did this happen? How did she get access to my account?" Patricia pulled out another document. "In 2018, you came into the bank with your daughter. You signed papers adding her as a joint account holder with full access. Do you remember that?" I tried to think back to 2018. Thomas had been dead for a year. I'd been grieving, overwhelmed, struggling to handle all the financial matters he'd always taken care of. And Melissa had offered to help. "Mom, let me help you with your finances," she'd said. "Let me handle the online banking, make sure your bills get paid, keep track of everything. You're stressed and grieving. Let me take this burden off your shoulders." It had seemed like such a loving gesture, such a kind offer from a devoted daughter. I'd gone to the bank with her, I'd signed papers, but I'd thought I was just giving her the ability to help me pay bills, to assist me with managing things. I hadn't realized I was giving her complete access to drain my accounts. Mrs. Williams, Patricia said gently, I pulled these records because we've been seeing concerning patterns. Large withdrawals, transfers to external accounts, unusual activity. I wanted to make sure you were aware of what was happening with your money. I had no idea. I thought, Melissa told me my deposits were smaller than I remembered because of taxes and Medicare premiums. She said prices were going up, and that's why I was running out of money. She said I was spending too much on groceries and needed to budget better. She was lying to you while stealing from you. The words hung in the air. My daughter was a thief. My own child had been robbing me blind while I trusted her completely. What do? I asked. First, you remove her from your accounts immediately, today, right now. Second, you file a police report for financial exploitation of an elderly person. And third, you get a lawyer. My head was spinning. She's my daughter. I can't have her arrested. Patricia leaned forward, her expression serious. Mrs. Williams, she stole over $100,000 from you. She committed fraud, forgery if she signed any documents as you, and financial elder abuse. These are serious crimes. If you don't report it, she'll likely continue. And you'll never get your money back. After leaving the bank, with Melissa immediately removed from all my accounts and new account numbers issued, I sat in my car in the parking lot trying to process what I'd learned. For 4 years, Melissa had been stealing from me. Every month, my income would deposit into the account, and she'd withdraw most of it before I could access it. She'd leave me just enough to survive, barely, while taking the rest for herself. And the whole time, she'd been coming to my house, pretending to help me, criticizing me for spending too much, making me feel like my financial struggles were my own fault. I thought about the past 4 years, the times I'd skipped meals because I couldn't afford groceries. The time I'd gone without heat for 2 weeks in January because I couldn't pay the heating bill, and Melissa had said I needed to learn to budget better. The medical appointments I'd canceled because I couldn't afford the copays, all while Melissa was stealing my money. I called my son Marcus in Atlanta. When I told him what I discovered, there was a long silence. Mama, I need to tell you something. Melissa called me about 6 months ago asking to borrow $10,000. She said it was for car repairs. I told her I didn't have it. She got really angry, said I was selfish, that family helps family. Why didn't you tell me? Because it was between me and her. But Mama, if she was asking me for money, where was all your money going? Into her accounts, into her pockets. I don't know what she was spending it on, but it's gone. Marcus was furious. You have to press charges. You have to report this. She's my daughter. She's a thief. She stole from you. Mama, please don't let her get away with this. After I hung up with Marcus, I sat thinking about Melissa, about the little girl who used to climb into my lap and tell me I was the best mama in the world, about the teenager who'd cried on my shoulder after her first heartbreak, about the young woman who'd asked me to help plan her wedding. When had that person become someone who could steal from her own mother? I needed to understand what had happened to the money, why Melissa had done this. So I hired a private investigator named James Rivera, who specialized in financial fraud cases. Within a week, he had answers. Mrs. Williams, your daughter has a serious gambling problem. She's been going to the casino in North Charleston 3 to 4 times a week for the past 5 years. She's racked up significant credit card debt, over $40,000. She also has a personal loan of $25,000 that's in default. She's been evicted from 2 apartments in the past 3 years for non-payment of rent. Gambling. All my money had been going to feed Melissa's gambling addiction. There's more, James said. She's been telling people, friends, coworkers, family, that she's been financially supporting you, that you can't manage your own money, and she's been using her own income to help you survive. The lie was so brazen, so calculated, that it took my breath away. She'd been stealing from me while telling everyone she was supporting me. She's also applied for credit cards in your name, James continued. They were declined because of fraud alerts, but she tried 3 times in the past year. Identity theft on top of the financial exploitation. Mrs. Williams, what your daughter has done is criminal. You need to report this to the police and pursue legal action. Otherwise, she'll continue. The gambling addiction won't stop on its own, and she'll keep finding ways to take advantage of you. I hired an attorney that same day, Dorothy Chen, who specialized in elder law and financial abuse. When she reviewed all the evidence, bank statements, James's investigative report, documentation of the gambling, she was unflinching. Mrs. Williams, we have a clear-cut case of financial exploitation of an elderly person, fraud, and possibly identity theft. You have grounds for both criminal prosecution and a civil lawsuit for restitution. What will happen to her? If convicted on criminal charges, she could face prison time. The civil case is separate. That's where we sue her to recover the stolen money. But, Mrs. Williams, I need to be honest with you. Even if we win a judgment, if she doesn't have assets, collecting will be difficult. She stole $100,000 from me. Where is it? Gone, lost to gambling, spent on debts. When we sue her, we can try to garnish her wages, seize any assets she has. But if she's in the financial trouble James's report suggests, recovery will be minimal. So she gets away with it? No, she faces criminal charges. She potentially goes to prison. Her reputation is destroyed. But the money, most of it is probably gone forever. The reality of that hit me hard. Not only had Melissa stolen my money, but she'd gambled it away. There was no recovery, no way to get back what she'd taken. I want to move forward with everything, I said. Criminal charges, civil lawsuit, all of it. Are you certain? This will destroy your relationship with your daughter. She destroyed our relationship when she started stealing from me. I'm just making sure she faces consequences. Over the next several weeks, Dorothy filed a police report and initiated a civil lawsuit. The police opened an investigation into Melissa for financial exploitation of an elderly person, fraud, and identity theft. Melissa was arrested on a Tuesday afternoon at her workplace. I wasn't there to see it, but Marcus told me she'd called him from jail, crying, begging him to bail her out. He'd refused. She then called me. I almost didn't answer, but I needed to hear what she had to say. Mom, please, you have to help me. They arrested me at work. Everyone saw. I've lost my job. Please, you have to tell them this was a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding? Melissa, you stole over $100,000 from me. I was borrowing it. I was going to pay you back. With what money? You gambled it all away. You have $40,000 in credit card debt and a defaulted loan. Where was this magic money going to come from to pay me back? I was going to win. I just needed a few more chances, a few more. You have a gambling addiction, Melissa, and instead of getting help, you stole from your own mother to feed it. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Please, just drop the charges. I'll get help. I'll go to therapy. I'll do anything. You had 4 years to get help, 4 years to stop. Instead, you took more and more while I was rationing groceries and going without heat. While I was ashamed, thinking I was bad with money, you were stealing from me and lying about it. Please, Mom, I'm your daughter. You can't send me to prison. You sent yourself to prison when you committed crimes against me. This is the consequence of your choices, Melissa. She started crying harder. What about Sophie? If I go to prison, what happens to my daughter? Sophie, my 15-year-old granddaughter, the one innocent person in this mess. Sophie can come stay with me if she needs to, but that doesn't change what you did or the fact that you need to face consequences. I can't believe you're doing this to me. What kind of mother sends her own daughter to prison? What kind of daughter steals from her own mother for 4 years? Think about that, Melissa. I hung up. The guilt hit me immediately. Was I doing the right thing? Should I have given her another chance? Should I have dropped the charges and just demanded she get help? But then I thought about the 4 years of struggling, the shame I'd felt, the hunger, the cold, the constant worry about money while Melissa had been taking it all. And I thought about what would happen if I didn't press charges. She'd learned that she could exploit me without consequences. She'd keep gambling, keep stealing, keep lying. No, I'd made the right choice. The criminal case moved forward. The prosecutor, a sharp woman named Lisa Hammond, was aggressive in pursuing charges. Mrs. Williams, I want you to understand what we're dealing with. Your daughter stole over $100,000 from you over 4 years. She exploited your trust, your age, and your grief. This is one of the most calculated cases of elder abuse I've seen. What will happen to her? If convicted, she's looking at significant prison time. We're talking 5 to 10 years, potentially. The amount stolen, the duration of the exploitation, the vulnerability of the victim, all of these factors work against her. 5 to 10 years. My daughter could spend a decade in prison. Part of me felt sick, but another part of me felt something else, vindication. She'd stolen from me for 4 years. Justice meant facing real consequences. The civil lawsuit also proceeded. Dorothy filed for full restitution of the stolen money, plus damages, legal fees, and interest. Even if she doesn't have the money now, Dorothy explained, the judgment will follow her for years. We can garnish her wages, seize assets, place liens on any property she might acquire. She won't be able to escape this debt. The trial came 6 months after Melissa's arrest. I had to testify, had to sit in a courtroom and detail how my own daughter had systematically robbed me. The prosecutor showed the jury the bank records. Month after month of deposits followed immediately by withdrawals to Melissa's personal accounts. The evidence was overwhelming. Melissa's lawyer tried to argue that she'd had permission, that this was a misunderstanding between family members. But the evidence of my poverty while Melissa was stealing from me, combined with her gambling addiction and attempts to open credit cards in my name, destroyed that defense. The jury deliberated for 3 hours. When they came back, Melissa was found guilty on all counts: financial exploitation of an elderly person, fraud, and attempted identity theft. The judge sentenced her to 7 years in prison. I sat in the courtroom and watched my daughter be led away in handcuffs, and I felt a complicated mixture of grief, relief, and vindication. The civil judgment was also awarded in my favor, full restitution of $127,000 plus legal fees and damages, totaling over $180,000. She'll never be able to pay this, Dorothy told me, but it's on record. Her wages will be garnished for the rest of her working life. Any assets she acquires will be subject to seizure. She'll carry this debt forever. Good, I said, and I meant it. After the trial, I had to rebuild my life. I had to figure out how to survive on my actual income now that I controlled my accounts again. The first thing I did was create a detailed budget with help from a financial counselor. When I saw my full income actually reaching my bank account every month, I almost cried. $3,200 per month, more than enough to live comfortably. I paid off debts I'd accumulated during the years Melissa was stealing from me. I stocked my pantry. I got my heat fixed. I went to medical appointments I'd been putting off. For the first time in 4 years, I wasn't struggling. I wasn't hungry. I wasn't ashamed. I also had to deal with Sophie. My granddaughter was devastated by her mother's arrest and conviction. She came to live with me while Melissa was in prison, and we had many difficult conversations. Why did you do this to Mom, Grandma? Why did you send her to prison? Sophie, your mother stole from me for 4 years. She took money I needed to survive and gambled it away while I was going hungry. That's a crime, and it had to have consequences. But she's my mom. I need her. I know, sweetheart, and I'm sorry, but your mother made choices that led to this. She chose to steal. She chose to gamble. She chose to keep doing it even when she saw how it was affecting me. These are the consequences of those choices. She said she was borrowing the money and was going to pay you back. With what, Sophie? She has no money. She gambled away everything she stole from me. There was no plan to pay me back. That was just another lie. Sophie cried, and I held her, but I didn't apologize for pressing charges. Melissa needed to face consequences, and Sophie needed to learn that actions have repercussions, even when they're committed by people you love. I also started attending a support group for victims of financial elder abuse. I was shocked to discover how common it was. Adult children stealing from elderly parents, exploiting their trust, draining their accounts. One woman, Dorothy, told a story similar to mine. Her son had been managing her finances and had stolen over $80,000 to fund a drug addiction. She'd pressed charges and he was serving 5 years. People keep telling me I should have just handled it within the family, Dorothy said. But handling it within the family meant he'd never face consequences. He'd keep using, keep stealing, keep destroying both of our lives. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is let someone hit rock bottom. Another woman, Margaret, said her daughter had stolen $40,000, but Margaret had chosen not to press charges. I regret it every day, she said, because she didn't stop. She's still trying to manipulate me, still asking for money, still making me feel guilty. I should have drawn the line and held it. These stories reinforced what I already knew. I'd made the right choice. I also started speaking publicly about my experience. I gave talks at senior centers and community groups about financial exploitation, warning other elderly people about the signs, encouraging them to maintain control of their own accounts. Don't give anyone, even your own children, unlimited access to your money, I'd tell audiences. It's not about lack of trust. It's about protecting yourself. Real help comes with transparency and accountability, not with secret access to all your accounts. Many people thanked me for speaking up. Several told me they'd been experiencing similar situations, and my story gave them courage to act. About 2 years into Melissa's sentence, she wrote me a letter. The first communication I'd had from her since the trial. Mom, I'm in a recovery program here. I'm working on my gambling addiction. I'm in therapy. I'm finally understanding what I did to you and how wrong it was. I know you may never forgive me. I know our relationship is probably destroyed forever. But I want you to know that I understand now. I see how I hurt you, how I exploited you, how I let my addiction justify stealing from the person who loved me most. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm just asking you to know that I finally get it. And I'm sorry. So sorry. Melissa. I read that letter multiple times. Part of me wanted to respond, to tell her I forgave her, to rebuild some kind of relationship. But another part of me remembered the 4 years of hunger and cold and shame, remembered her calling from jail demanding I drop the charges, remembered her asking, what kind of mother sends her own daughter to prison without any acknowledgement of what kind of daughter steals from her own mother? I didn't respond to the letter. Not yet. Maybe someday, but not yet. Sophie, now 17, asked about it. Grandma, are you ever going to forgive Mom? I don't know, sweetheart. Forgiveness is complicated. What your mother did was so calculated, so sustained, so harmful. I'm not sure I can forgive that. She said she's sorry. People say they're sorry all the time. What matters is change, real, sustained change. Not just words in a letter, but years of different behavior. So you might forgive her someday? Maybe, if she truly changes, if she gets help for her addiction and stays clean, if she takes full responsibility without making excuses, if she shows through years of consistent behavior that she's different. But Sophie, even if I forgive her someday, I'll never forget what she did, and I'll never give her access to my finances again. That seems sad. It is sad, but it's also necessary. Trust, once broken that badly, can't be fully restored. You can build something new, But it will always be different, smaller, more careful. Melissa was released after serving 5 years with good behavior. She moved into a halfway house and got a job at a call center. Part of her wages were immediately garnished for restitution. She'd be paying me back $50 a week for the rest of her working life. At that rate, it would take her over 60 years to repay what she'd stolen. She asked to see me. I agreed to meet at a coffee shop, neutral territory. She looked older, tired, worn down by prison, but there was something else in her eyes too, something that looked like genuine remorse. "Mom, thank you for meeting me. I did it for Sophie, not for you." She nodded, accepting that. "I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't expect us to have a relationship. I just want you to know that I've been sober from gambling for 5 years now. I go to Gamblers Anonymous meetings 3 times a week. I'm working with a sponsor. I'm in therapy. I'm doing everything I can to make sure I never hurt anyone like I hurt you again." "Good." I know the restitution payments are small. $50 a week doesn't begin to cover what I took, but I'm paying what I can. And Mom, I want you to know, I see now what I did. Not just the stealing, but the cruelty of it. Watching you struggle, telling you it was your fault, making you feel ashamed, that was evil. There's no other word for it. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to be better than the person who could do that. I looked at my daughter and saw genuine remorse. But I also remembered the 4 years of lies. "Melissa, I'm glad you're getting help. I'm glad you're taking responsibility. But you need to understand something. Even if you pay back every penny, which you won't, not in my lifetime, even if you stay sober forever, even if you become a completely different person, what you did changed our relationship permanently. I will never trust you the way I did. I will never give you access to my accounts or my financial information. I will always be cautious around you. I understand. And if you ever try to take advantage of me again, I will press charges immediately without hesitation. There will be no second chances. I understand that too. You can have a relationship with Sophie. You can work on rebuilding that. But with me, we're starting from zero, and it's going to take years, maybe decades, of consistent behavior before I feel anything but cautious around you." She nodded, tears in her eyes. "That's more than I deserve. Thank you." Over the next year, Melissa did show signs of real change. She stayed sober from gambling. She paid her restitution every week without fail. She got promoted at her job. She started rebuilding her relationship with Sophie. And she respected my boundaries. She didn't ask for money. She didn't ask for access to my accounts. She didn't push for more of a relationship than I was comfortable with. It was progress. Small, slow, careful progress. But I never forgot what she'd done. And I never stopped protecting myself. Now, if you're listening to this story, if you've discovered that your own child has been stealing from you, exploiting your trust, draining your accounts while pretending to help, I need you to hear this. You have the right to press charges. You have the right to protect yourself. You have the right to demand consequences, even if the person who hurt you is your own child. Love does not give anyone the right to steal your life's work, even if they are your own child. Here's what you need to do if you discover financial exploitation. First, go to your bank immediately. Remove the exploiter from your accounts. Get new account numbers, change all passwords, secure your finances before doing anything else. Second, document everything. Print bank statements. Get records of withdrawals and transfers. Gather any evidence of fraud or unauthorized transactions. Third, file a police report. Financial exploitation of an elderly person is a crime in every state. Report it. Don't let shame or family loyalty prevent you from protecting yourself. Fourth, hire a lawyer. You need both criminal and civil remedies. The criminal case punishes the crime. The civil case tries to recover your money. And fifth, prepare for the consequences. Your relationship with your child will likely be destroyed. Other family members may take sides. You may face pressure to drop charges or forgive. Stand firm. Your financial security and dignity matter more than maintaining false peace. I pressed charges against my own daughter. I testified against her in court. I watched her be sentenced to 7 years in prison, and I don't regret it, because what she did wasn't a mistake. It wasn't a moment of weakness. It was 4 years of calculated, sustained theft and deception. That deserved consequences, real, serious consequences. You cannot change the truth of the past, but you can decide who you become once the truth is revealed. I became someone who refused to be victimized, someone who demanded justice, someone who protected herself even when it meant destroying a relationship with her own child. And sometimes protecting your dignity means standing up to ghosts, both literal and emotional. The ghost of the daughter I thought I had, the ghost of the relationship I thought we shared, the ghost of the trust that was destroyed. I faced those ghosts. I acknowledged the truth, and I chose to protect myself rather than protect Melissa from consequences. You can do the same. Don't let guilt or shame prevent you from reporting financial exploitation. Don't let family pressure convince you to drop charges. Don't let manipulative apologies without changed behavior soften your boundaries. Your money is your security, your independence, your dignity, and no one, not even your own children, has the right to take it from you. I survived 4 years of financial exploitation. I survived the betrayal of discovering my daughter was a thief. I survived the guilt of pressing charges. And I rebuilt my life stronger, more protected, more determined never to be victimized again. You can survive too. Stand firm, press charges, demand justice, protect yourself. Your life's work is worth fighting for, even when the person who stole it is your own child. Somewhere in Charleston, there's a 73-year-old widow who sent her own daughter to prison for stealing over $100,000, who's still standing, still secure, still in control of her own money and her own life. You can be too. Don't let anyone steal your independence, not even your children. You've worked too hard, survived too much to let someone, anyone, rob you of the security you've earned. Stand strong. You're worth protecting. And for years, I trusted her with my accounts because I thought I couldn't live without her. Turns out, the only way I could really live was without her fingerprints on my money ever again.